Hello and welcome. My name is Kate Tringham and I'm the editor of James Navy International, and it is my great pleasure today to welcome you to this online intelligence briefing. Today, Alex Pape, who is Principal Research Analyst, with Mike Faby, our America's Naval Reporter, and Rizwan Ramat, our Senior Asia-Pacific Naval Reporter, will present a session entitled Global Mine Countermeasures Programs. Given their ability to deny passage and restrict the movement of an adversary's warships, naval mines continue to be the weapon of choice in the anti-access, anti-denial arsenal of many navies. Services such as the People's Liberation Army Navy and the Korean People's Navy are also known to maintain potent arsenals of naval mines that can potentially cripple not only the movement of warships, but international merchant shipping across the Asia-Pacific region. As such, mine countermeasures continue to be a relevant capability, and a number of navies are making plans to significantly revamp their MCM capabilities. In terms of recent trends, requirements, concepts and technologies for future mine countermeasures capabilities are slowly evolving towards autonomous and modular systems that can be used in conjunction with motherships positioned away from the minefield. At the same time, there's still a market for traditional MCM programs, with countries like Russia and India still relying heavily on traditional concepts. Today, our panel will explore such developments across the globe, highlighting trends in MCM acquisitions, notable programs, and the projected demand for platforms and systems. Alex Pape will be providing an overview of the market for mine countermeasures vessels over the next 10 years, and later he'll look into the role of motherships as part of the solution for future MCM concepts. Mike Faby will trace the US Navy's efforts to find a reliable, affordable and adaptable system for counter-mine operations as the service focuses on modular unmanned technologies. And finally, Rizwan Ramat will examine the challenges faced by Singapore with regards to the threats of naval mines and the ambitions of the Republic of Singapore Navy to operate a fully unmanned MCM capability. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes my introduction, but just before I hand over to Alex, I'd like to highlight that the information used to compile today's presentation has been drawn from a variety of James content, but in particular, James Markets Forecasts, Military Ships, and James Defence Equipment and Technology. Right, over to you, Alex.
Thank you very much, and I shall kick off proceedings by providing a very brief overview in the next few minutes of what is going on in this particular market sector, using data we've compiled for a forthcoming intelligence report available to subscribers of intelligence centres. Next slide, please. As this slide shall hopefully show quite clearly, it's a growing market, but let's put it into context. Overall, over a time frame going back 5 years and forward 10 years, we project a spending on manned and unmanned MCM systems in the maritime domain of close to $15 billion. Now, in comparison to other sectors, say corvettes, which we've got down for about $50 billion in the same time frame, and frigates with $140 billion, it may appear a small sector. However, it is worth noting that it's growing and provides a considerable number of opportunities. Now, as can also be seen, hopefully from this chart, a number of key areas where acquisitions are taking place are East and Southeast Asia, with at least $5 billion worth of programs. Another key area is Western Europe, where fleet replacements are taking place, Eastern Europe and primarily Russia, and then in Western Central Asia, the Indian MCMV program is a key contributor in terms of finance. Next slide, please. As mentioned already, opportunities are considerable over the next years as this is a growing market as navies are replacing their assets, which includes more than $5 billion worth of announced opportunities, and we project a further requirement worth at least $2 billion and technologies that we project to be required but haven't been officially announced by the navies in question. Next slide, please. Now, in terms of the balance between manned platforms, meaning dedicated mine hunters, mine sweepers, and unmanned systems,
Thank you, Alex, and good day, everyone. Move on to the first slide. I'd like to point out that this is not a theoretical situation or exercise for U.S. Navy. The U.S. has learned the hard way how much damage a simple, inexpensive mine can cause with modern surface combat. The frigate Sammy B. Davis struck an Iranian mine in April 1988 in the Central Persian Gulf's main shipping channel, and only the damage control efforts of the officers and crew saved the ship. Furthermore, as far as the U.S. is concerned, the attack on the guided missile destroyer USS Cole in October 2000 by a small boat laden with explosives while the warship was being refueled in Yemen was really just a floating mine. And as we'll see in the next slide, that such attacks basically became a wake-up call for the U.S. Navy operations, surface ship operations. Until that time.
Thank you, Mike, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rizwan, and I'm based in Singapore. I monitor naval developments mostly in the Asia-Pacific region, and today I will talk about Singapore's aspiration to operate a fully unmanned MCM fleet. And I'm highlighting the Republic of Singapore Navy for this mini case study because I think the service faces a number of challenges that is common to developed countries. But unlike its European counterparts, Singapore is an interesting case study because it does not have the luxury of regional military frameworks or alliances like NATO, on which it can collaborate with other countries when it comes to MCM. In fact, you can also argue that, we are surrounded by quite neighbors who may not cooperate fully on military programs because of a lack of trust. So let's move on to the next slide, please. So Singapore puts a premium on MCM operations because we are a country that relies very heavily on seaborne trade, and about a quarter of Singapore's GDP counts on open access to seas, and these activities include shipping oil and oil refining activities. So as such, Singapore takes a serious view on the threat of naval mines and the danger it poses not only to the Singapore's trade, but also the sea lines of communication.
At the beginning, I talked about the level of activity in the market sector, MCM vessels and unmanned systems at the moment, and we can definitely see an increase over the next 10 years. The US Navy, as we've heard from Mike, has very good experience, first-hand experience of how dangerous mines can be, and what it is doing about them now. The other key to take away from Mike was that unmanned systems are definitely the anchor and the center point of the future MCM strategy that is currently being evolved. From Singapore and Rizwan, we've heard that MCM operations are still relevant today for other navies despite the perceived lack of threats. And one of those reasons being is that the threat of naval mines or explosives, improvised explosive devices being deployed by non-state actors is on the rise. I then provide a brief overview of the approaches to future MCM needs. And interestingly from my side, I found that the concept of the very low-cost mothership has in fact not been taken up very widely as I would have expected maybe 10 years ago. And as a result, those new MCMVs and motherships may end up being quite costly and quite complex vessels, similar to the traditional MCM vessels, which have been described as very expensive and very costly, second only to submarines. However, obviously, capability-wise, those new concepts will provide more capability in terms of clearance rates, will be very flexible, and a key thing still to navies to reduce the risk to personnel. And with that, I'll hand over to Kate.
We look forward to welcoming you to future online briefings. Our next online briefing, which is on airborne electronic support, will take place next Thursday, the 1st of March. Thank you everyone, and goodbye.